Hi, this is Natalie Sanford. I am coming at you this week for week 12. This is going to be chapter 26 for corporate law. And I was able to teach my 16-year-old son, who does not like to be on video. So I'll just review what we taught, and we'll start from the beginning. So corporate law, the definition of a corporation is a legal entity created and recognized by state law. So the legal recognition is that the corporation is treated like a person or an entity. So it's protected under the law with rights and privileges. This means a corporation has access to courts and due process, speech rights, freedom from unreasonable searches. And then the exception to this law is there is no privilege against self-incrimination. So in a personal situation, you're not allowed to self-incriminate. In a corporation, that's taken off the table. So there's a corporate veil put in place. So the veil kind of protects the individual from liability. So from being personally liable, the existence of the corporation protects the individual shareholders. However, there are limitations to this veil. So the courts may pierce the veil in cases of fraud or failure to follow statutory formalities. So the example that was given is like a landlord could be own a corporation and act as a corporation. However, if they are not keeping their end of the agreement, if they're not upholding the contract on their end, the court would be able to pierce that corporation and go ahead and prosecute the individual that's responsible for the fraud or the not following of the contract. For corporate personnel, there are shareholders who own the owners who purchase shares, and they can change without affecting the corporate's existence. So you can swap shareholders in and out at any time. Not like an LLC where you have to dissociate. There's a board of directors, and this is elected by the shareholders to manage the corporation. And the corporate officers are hired by the board of directors to run the everyday operations. So the taxation is where it gets a little bit different in a corporation. So there is the double taxation. So corporate profits are subject to taxes, and then the dividends are then taxed again when they're distributed to the shareholders. So there's a lot of different types of corporations. Domestic corporations are formed in the home state and operated in the home state. Foreign corporations are formed in one state, but they do business in another state. And then alien corporations are formed in another country, but they do business in the United States. And then there's publicly held corporations, which are publicly traded companies. So they are going to be the companies you see on the stock exchange, the NASDAQ, or the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. Then there's a nonprofit, which are formed without profit-making purpose. There's a closed corporation, a C Corp. This has a few shareholders and operates like a partnership. And then an S Corp, it's similar, but it meets specific IRS requirements to be taxed as a partnership, like a partnership. And then professional corporations, PC or PA, these are operated by professionals like a physician's group or a lawyer group, so working professionals in there. And then corporate organizations, corporate charter, they are obtained by filing articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State for whatever state you're operating within. And then the corporation must contain a business name, mailing address, registered agent, incorporator, and initial directors. They must have a registered agent who is designated to receive notices, but they're not necessarily, have an authority in that. It's just a person that's in charge of filing and managing the records. They're required to have bylaws. The definition of bylaws are rules governing corporate governance and management. So they must contain information about the officers, directors, election and removal procedures, and duties owed to the corporation. So failure to comply is a breach of the fiduciary duties. So these bylaws must be present in a corporation as opposed to an LLC where they're just recommended. The corporate powers, the grant of powers. So some state statutes grant perpetual existence. State statutes grant perpetual existence. So that's the ability to be sued or to sue. You have property ownership, contract entry, and not unnecessary powers for legal purposes. And then the Ultra Vires Act, which is acts beyond granted authority, may lead to legal or to revocation of corporate charter or personal liability for officers or directors. So for my personal experience with corporations, my current position right now where we own an LLC, about 2 quarters into our business, our accountant was looking over our financials and we had actually made a profit, and it was no longer in our best interest to file as an LLC. So we changed the way we file taxes to an S Corp. And so we're an LLC taxed as an S Corp at this point because we were profitable, because we have several employees, we have structure, and it has helped us in taxation so we don't kind of double book ourselves or double tax ourselves. So that's what we run now as a corporation, and it's a little scary, but it's also exciting. And I feel grateful that we have the ability to do those things in this country that we live in, and that we have laws that protect us and hold us accountable and provide good structure for us to be able to run a business. That's it.